joining us to go through all the transfer tittle-tattle. It's talkSPORT's transfer guru, Ben Jacobs. Benny boy, good evening.
Evening, gents. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thanks for your company. Let's start with Manchester United. Marc Carrick's been named as interim head coach until the end of the season. Take us behind the scenes and tell us a little bit about this deal. I know Ollie was in the running as well, but it did appear quite quickly, actually, that Carrick was their number one choice.
Yeah, Ollie and also Ruud van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy didn't get a face-to-face interview because the Manchester United hierarchy already knew what he was all about. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer interviewed over the weekend. There was a slight delay, actually, because he had flu. And Michael Carrick spoke to the hierarchy last week. And originally, Solskjaer was seen as the front-runner, but Carrick's interview was really strong. And Manchester United feel that he's got the energy and the positivity to realise what's a very ambitious season goal, get Champions League football. So there is pressure on the Manchester United caretaker. Now, I call him caretaker, but actually the official statement just said head coach until the end of the season. It's one and the same thing, but it is perhaps telling that Manchester United, for stability as they seek a long-term successor to Ruben Amorim, are not giving Carrick caretaker or interim as an official title. And Carrick has a really interesting backroom staff. No Darren Fletcher, he was offered a role but has chosen to go back to the under-18. Steve Holland, who was Gareth Southgate's assistant, and in addition, Jonathan Woodgate, one of the other high-profile names who was with Carrick at Leeds United and is known to Jason Wilcox as well, who led this process from their time at Leeds United as teammates as well. So a fascinating appointment with so-called Manchester United DNA behind it. And from Carrick's perspective, he's not going in thinking this is a Trojan horse to get the job permanently, but he's got a lot of backing. The dressing room are all on side. Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire in particular. And as we revealed yesterday on talkSPORT, even Sir Alex Ferguson was consulted, and his vote was to pick Carrick over Solskjaer.
I mean, some people get frustrated, Ben, and I understand the interim after an interim, of course, with the summer, the World Cup, managers that are going to become available. There is a manager that's just become available, Xabi Alonso. Now, I want to put that name to you. Is there any way that he could be linked, or is there any way with his Liverpool connection that Manchester United would go for someone like Xabi Alonso?
Well, I don't think the Liverpool connection will be of massive issue. Manchester United are just going to do a thorough process. It hasn't actually started yet. So there's a lot of speculation about the free agents, Xabi Alonso, Enzo Maresca, Xavi Hernandez as well. But Manchester United have appointed Carrick so they can take their time. And at the moment, there's been no outreach to Xabi Alonso, but there will be interest from the Premier League and several other top clubs. And from Alonso's perspective, he's ready to dive straight in. So his future's going to be one to watch, but it's too early to tell if he's going to be linked with the vacancy at Old Trafford. Right now, the kind of names I'm hearing are ones that have either played in the Premier League, so Alonso would tick that box, or more pertinently, have managed in the Premier League. And there's two names that are definitely going to be on the list. Roberto De Zerbi, who feels he's still got some unfinished business in the Premier League after an excellent stint at Brighton, but it was a slightly acrimonious exit. And Thomas Tuchel, who of course is out of contract after the World Cup, but you can't really approach him now. You've got to wait until pretty much after that tournament. Oliver Glasner, expected to be a free agent in the summer as well. So Manchester United will not be short of options, but the sort of umbrella that seems to unite many of the early candidates, even though no one's got formal contact yet, seems to be names with Premier League experience.
Just quickly on the last one for me on the Manchester United manager situation. And now you mentioned Michael Carrick, and he's the interim, and he was the first choice for Sir Alex. He gets the backing from players. Is there any way that he could be the permanent manager if he does well from now to the end of the season?
Well, I think he's been told quite clearly that it is a job until the end of the season. And unfortunately for Manchester United, even if they get Champions League by finishing top 4 or 5, there's no real other yardsticks to judge their success. If it was a season where they were in the Champions League, they were still in the FA Cup, and they got Champions League via the league plus a deep run in one or both those competitions, then maybe you earn the right to them be in the frame. You can never say never, because it's a big enough portion of games that Carrick could change perspectives. But I'm told very clearly that he's been informed this is not a Trojan horse to get the job permanently. Whereas with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, extremely popular with the fan base, also interviewed really strongly, had some support from senior members within the Manchester United hierarchy as well. But it was clear in speaking to Solskjaer that he would have loved to go back as permanent manager, and maybe lines are a bit more blurred between what the actual remit of effectively this caretaker role is.
Ben, there's always players that have missed out under Amorim and weren't happy. Now that he's gone, I just wonder what Marcus Rashford's situation looks like. He won, of course, the Super Cup on Sunday evening with Barcelona. Seems to be doing very well out there. Has he cut complete ties with the club? It's now irrelevant who manages Manchester United.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. So any manager could come in and say to Marcus Rashford, here's an olive branch. But Rashford not only sees his chapter at Manchester United as over, because he was basically told that to his face when he departed the club. But more importantly, removing Man United from the equation, he's so settled at Barcelona. So Barca have told Rashford they want to sign him permanently. Rashford has said he's only intent on staying and doesn't want to speak to other suitors or return to Manchester United. And now we're left with three options: pay the €30 million option to buy at the end of the season, which is fantastic value. It's lower than his market valuation, and he's got nearly 20 goal contributions in about 25 games, and yet Barca's finances are tight. So what they've done, it might be gamesmanship, it's very early until the summer, is the starting point has been to approach Manchester United in the last few days and say, what if we came to an agreement under that €30 million, or even explored a second season long loan to defer the big payment and then have a conditional obligation to buy. And obviously Manchester United not going to be looking to do Barcelona any favours, so they may turn around and say €30 million is phenomenal value, buy him, otherwise he's back on the market. But at the moment, all signs are pointing towards later in the season, Manchester United and Barcelona coming to an agreement and Marcus Rashford staying at the Camp Nou.
Ben, we just spoke a little bit about Conor Gallagher potentially expected to join my club, Spurs, this week. What can you tell us on this one? Is it close?
Yeah, it's done. So Conor Gallagher's flown in. The medical was underway this afternoon, and the completion of the deal is expected tomorrow in terms of a formal announcement. We'll have to wait and see if that's Wednesday or later in the week, but it's been pushed through with a view to Conor Gallagher being made available immediately. It's a deal worth €40 million. Aston Villa were looking more for a loan with a conditional obligation, but they never got a full agreement in place, even though they were advanced with Atletico Madrid, and Tottenham made a late hijack and gave the Spanish club exactly what they wanted, that €40 million and a permanent exit. Gallagher was open to both moves. He wants to return to the Premier League, and in the end it was a case of going to Spurs despite his Chelsea connection, firstly because he felt like Chelsea kind of pushed him out of the club, so maybe a little bit less loyalty to his Cobham roots, but also wants to return to London and feels in that Spurs midfield he's going to be starting regularly, which obviously could boost his England chances as well. It's a 5.5-year contract, and we're expecting official confirmation within the next 24 or 48 hours, but the deal is done.
Marc Guehi's contract actually expires at the end of this season, but his transfer window is open. What does the future look like for him? Is there anything immediate, or does it look like he'll be a free agent in the summer?
Well, from Guehi's point of view, he's prepared to wait, and there's so many clubs that are prepared to do a deal if he's a free transfer. Arsenal and Liverpool would look for the summer, but not necessarily now. Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid have all made inquiries. Even Barcelona held some talks a couple of weeks ago, but they feel that Guehi's wage, although not unreasonable, because he wants to be a top 5 earner based on Premier League wages, that's too high for Barcelona, given other players, their wage bill and really strict financial rules in La Liga. So I think the Premier League clubs will have an advantage. Bayern might come into the mix as well. And if there is to be a twist, the domino that needs to fall is Man City, because they're the ones that are still thinking of making a bid now. And if they meet Crystal Palace's valuation, which is still £35 million or more, so the same number or above that Liverpool agreed over the summer, there is a possibility that Guehi could move, because on the right terms, Palace would sanction a sale, providing they've got the money and the right kind of profile to find a replacement. And of course, if Man City do place a bid, which is possible, does anybody else escalate their own pursuit of Guehi, switching from free agency to entering the race in January? And then we might get a little bit of a bidding war. But I think if Man City stay quiet, everyone will stay quiet, and then it will be a case of Guehi leaving Crystal Palace as a free agent in the summer.
Ben, you're a superstar. Catch up soon, buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, matey.